Hey there, badass lone wolf. Let's get to it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Soul Sync. I'm Jessica, and today we are going to talk about being the lone wolf. Why do we become the lone wolf? How do we feel as the lone wolf? How can we overcome these feelings of being the lone wolf if we desire to? And the benefits that we reap when we finally own who we are and we use our gifts as the lone wolf to benefit ourselves and others. Now, most people become the lone wolf because of early life experiences. So, feelings of isolation, feelings of rejection, feeling like perhaps you just don't fit in with your family. So, if you feel like you have been the black sheep, your viewpoints, beliefs, opinions, emotions don't really sync up with your family unit or the people that you are constantly immersed within in that group, you may have a tendency to begin withdrawing. So this could happen as a result of self-preservation, a feeling that this is how I keep myself safe, or this could arise as a tendency to really embrace ourselves and say, this is who I am, this is my stand, and I'm just going to do my own thing if you guys don't accept me. Now, when we get into this lone wolf mentality, what happens is our lives continue to unfold as we grow up, as we graduate from school and start finding our way truly in the world on our own, outside of our family unit. This can often manifest as continued isolation. So we will have this sense that it may be difficult to make new friends. It may be difficult to maintain relationships in whatever form they may be. We may have a hard time connecting with coworkers. Again, being in an office setting, being part of a team really kind of requires or tries to draw out of us that team mentality where we are really integrating with others and kind of finding our place within the group. So when we are the lone wolf, we don't want anything to do with that, right? Because we kind of know who we are, we know what we're about, we know how we want to feel, how we don't want to feel, and we have accumulated certain experiences of how others perceive us as well when we start sharing our inner world. So we tend to resist those environments, those connections, forming those units with others because we have adopted this identity that I'm the lone wolf. And when we adopt that as our identity, what happens, unfortunately, is we really limit ourselves in our ability to grow, evolve, and change for the better. Now, that doesn't mean that where we are is a bad place. It doesn't mean that being the lone wolf is a bad thing, but we can always improve upon ourselves and add more depth and dimension to our character and to what we have learned in this lifetime. So as we start moving into that space of pressures to integrate or a desire to integrate, we might start feeling this internal conflict. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I just want to run away. I don't want any part of this. Get it away from me. Or we may actually desire to be part of the group, but because we have this rigid identity of being the lone wolf, we may struggle to find ways to move around that. We may struggle to see opportunities or ways that we can shift out of that mindset and start allowing others into our lives, allowing others to connect with us, and allowing ourselves to connect with them. So if you are identifying as a lone wolf and you have experienced this exact thing where when it comes time to integrate with others, there's this challenge, this is what I call the lone wolf loneliness, because you really want to connect on some level. Whether it's, a group at work or friends or just connecting with humanity. We are social creatures, okay? We are a species of social creatures. We are not, a species where we each independently go our own way and we're completely content with that. That sense of community is critical for our well-being. And so this lone wolf loneliness starts to creep up, especially in situations where we're presented with an opportunity to connect and we find that we just are hitting some sort of invisible wall. and we want to get through, we want to connect, we want to be vulnerable, we want to show up as ourselves, but there is really this inner resistance because of past experience, or just a lack of knowing how to assimilate with others, or even, I guess I would say, a fear, a deep-rooted fear subconsciously that our position that we're bringing will not be accepted in the ranks, right? So maybe we're a leader, we're very headstrong, and we're afraid that that's going to cause a lot of headbutting and personality clashes, and it's going to turn into a bunch of drama, and we just don't want anything to do with that. We like our peaceful lone wolf life, right? Okay, so we may start feeling very isolated and even angry. And this anger may not even be within our awareness. It's kind of under the surface, just bubbling there. And it creates this feeling of general discontent with life, not being happy with where we are, wanting something more, but maybe not knowing what that more is. And so we really have to look at ourselves within and ask ourselves why we are clinging to this identity. Why does it mean so much to us? Is this perhaps from an underlying sense of self-soothing, of comfort, knowing that as long as we are the lone wolf and we stay isolated, we are in complete control of everything around us, right? We don't have to compromise. We don't have to ask permission. We don't have to coordinate schedules. We don't have to worry about other people's feelings because, darn it, we're the lone wolf and we do what we want when we want because we know what's best for us, and others should listen to us. We have good perspective, and yeah, right? And that keeps us in this very isolated state, this very isolated mindset. And even if we become comfortable there, there's still this feeling of something missing. And it's not necessarily a lack of wholeness. So we're not talking about needing other people to feel whole within ourselves. We're talking about the fact that we crave community, craving to be seen, heard, accepted, valued for who we are. And as long as we're running in a solo pack of one, it's the lone wolf, we can't really accomplish that. And so we start to feel that bubbling up within us, and it creates some discontent. And when we start to really look at that and ask ourselves, why am I clinging to this identity? Why do I need to be the lone wolf? It's usually feelings of comfort, safety, perhaps not feeling confident in our ability to set boundaries and hold our own when we are around others. And often it can also stem from a lack of openness to give and receive. So if our hearts are closed off, it's much easier to just stay alone, roll solo, and not have to worry about being part of a community and learning who we can be, what we can receive, and what we have to offer to others as part of the community. So we really have to ask ourselves, is this serving me? Is it serving me? And be very honest with ourselves. And we may not have an answer the first time we ask that. We may not have an answer immediately. But if we keep posing that question to ourselves, if we keep really pushing ourselves to discover who we are on the inside and ask, is this really serving my highest good? Is this serving my highest goals? Is this helping me accomplish, achieve, draw to me, manifest the life I want to live with the community I would like to have and with the experiences that I really want to experience in my life? And when we start to do this, we don't have to make this be all or nothing right now. Okay? It doesn't have to be right now, all or nothing, or even forever, because we can ebb and flow in and out of this lone wolf status. We can be part of the community, and perhaps we are the leader, and we are naturally just inclined to occasionally disconnect in order to come up with our great ideas for our pack, okay? So it doesn't just have to be now versus forever, trying to fit into a mold immediately, trying to get results. Okay, this is just an introspection to figure out, how is this serving me? And really, is it actually serving me in the way that I want it to? And we really start to evolve and grow when we start introspecting in this way, because we give ourselves the opportunity to even ponder the question, to ponder something different than what we have been experiencing. And that's a beautiful moment when we reach that point where we start asking the question, looking at ourselves, noticing how we feel, noticing repetitive thoughts we're thinking that might be artificially holding us into this lone wolf loneliness, this lone wolf identity that perhaps is not even really what we want within our hearts. It's not our heart's desire. So it may have been necessary in the past, okay, for fitting in, for self-preservation, providing ourselves with self-soothing, a sense of comfort and control if things were very chaotic growing up, abusive growing up, neglectful growing up. We just sort of became comfortable adopting this role that was an opportunity for us to make the best out of a not so ideal situation. However, is it really serving you now? And you've got to ask the question. And it doesn't hurt to ask the question. By not asking the question, we are avoiding facing ourselves and our lives will never change. But when we start really asking this question, do I like feeling this lone wolf loneliness? Do I like feeling this isolation truly? Is it serving me? Then we can really start looking deeper within ourselves and unraveling some of these subconscious beliefs, habits, thoughts, and behaviors that we may be completely unaware of. We just assume that that's who we are. But really, it's just a thought, a feeling, a behavior, a perspective that we've chosen long ago to take on for reasons that are no longer serving us. And so when we can start to do this and move beyond our present feelings of loneliness, of this identity, this perhaps even stubborn pride of being the lone wolf in our lives, resisting everything on the outside, doing it all ourselves, going it alone, being our own badass, right? Then we can really start to transform through what I call a pack life reset. And this is really about finding better ways to interact with others by finding better ways to interact with ourselves. And this pack life reset is really going to shift our entire perspective. It's going to allow us to be humble and vulnerable with ourselves and our own experiences to date, be really honest about what we're wanting, and be brave and courageous like the lone wolf we have been so far. Be so brave and courageous to start identifying and taking steps towards living the life that we want, and letting ourselves soften our grip, our clenching grip on this lone wolf loneliness feeling that is so familiar to us, yet perhaps we don't enjoy it. This lone wolf identity that we have latched onto and we have taken so much pride in, being independent, doing everything on our own, not being vulnerable with others. We can just let it go. We can start to soften, okay? And when we start to soften and we start thinking about this pack life reset, we can really evaluate where we feel our true pack position is. And it may not be the pack position you think it is. We may have become so proud of being independent and figuring it all out and driving it all home that we think we're going to be the leader, right? We've got all the ideas. We've done it for so long. We know best, okay? But maybe that's just who we have had to be. And in reality, we are a supporter. And the reason we've been feeling this lone wolf loneliness this whole time is because we are a supporter without support. We ourselves feel unsupported. And being the lone wolf, thinking we need to have all the answers, doing it all ourselves, burning ourselves out perhaps, isolating ourselves, is how we best knew how to support ourselves in the past when we were in those old experiences, and that kept us safe. That made us feel comfortable and protected. It made us feel like we belonged. And when we start to reassess our pack order, who we really are inside and how we want to fit into our community, then we can start taking steps to rejoin the pack. And when we start rejoining the pack, when we make that decision, we give ourselves the beautiful gift of allowing ourselves to receive new people into our life. We allow new people to enter our life, bring their unique gifts to us, and we allow ourselves to share our unique gifts with them. And this is when our lives really start to transform, because it's a whole new experience for us, right? We're used to going solo, always being the observer, watching everyone else have a great time with others, and we're just sort of the third wheel, or we're on the outside looking in. But when we really start embracing ourselves, shifting our perspective, and taking ownership of who we are, and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and start rejoining the pack, we really can then surrender this lone wolf identity, and it becomes less of a chip on our shoulder, right? And just more of part of our journey along the way. And we now have inner confidence knowing we can do it ourselves. We can go it alone. We can be solo and survive. But we can now release, exhale, and surrender into who we are truly when we release all of that armor, all of the walls, all of this need to go solo, and rejoin the pack and allow others to help us, allow others to have some of the answers that guide us, allow ourselves to receive those answers, to think about them, consider them, give them value, and even try out others' suggestions for what we should do, because they've had their own experiences, and that adds richness and color to our lives. When we rejoin the pack, there is an abundance of perspectives, viewpoints, experience, and wisdom that helps us accelerate even faster in our lives, in our personal growth, and towards our life purpose in this journey. And we really start to also recognize, and this is the best part, this is the absolute best part. So everyone watching this, please listen. You can be with others and be safe. It's safe to be with others. Community is safety. And for those who may have had very challenging early experiences with family, society, school, classmates, your actual neighborhood community, so adults around you, other children you were playing with, who may or may not have been your friends, but they were all you had. It's safe to be part of a community, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's one of the best feelings in the world, and you deserve it. So if you have been a lone wolf, been flying solo for a while, pretty confident, got it all going on, but you still feel this loneliness inside, that's the lone wolf loneliness, and it's calling you back to the pack, and you deserve it. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm glad you all tuned in. I know you're all finding your way. You're amazing. Keep doing your best, and I'll see you next time. Bye.